We can't allow any further delay.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for another episode of the Fox 12 Weather Podcast. This is episode 56. Today is Thursday, June 15th. I'm meteorologist Jeff Orgeron, joined by Camila Ortiz. Hey Camila.
Hello.
And Chief Meteorologist Mark Nelson. Hey Mark.
Good afternoon, folks.
So last week it was just the two of us. Camila, you were, I believe, out of town. What were you up to out? I think you were in Colorado. Is that correct?
Yeah. So, well, we're in the throes of racing season, but we're also in the throes of wedding season. And as Mark is very aware because he does the schedule, we have so many weddings this summer. I don't know what's going on. So we were in Grand Junction, Colorado for a good friend's wedding, but, snuck some training in as well.
Yeah, I saw some photos and I was like, is she running a marathon and going to a wedding? Like, what's the deal?
No, there's some beautiful national parks in that area. So I rode up to Colorado National Monument, really cool, like gradual climb. And then you get these like stunning views of the valley, cool rock formations, tunnels. So that was like a long ride that I did. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So it's the middle part of June, and I think we had one kind of wet day earlier this week. Actually, it was
last Friday.
Weekend.
It was last Friday, remember?
It was the 9th, wasn't it? I just
Mark, this is that short-term memory loss of weather patterns, and weather information we talked about past couple of weeks on our podcast.
Yeah, wait till you're 54. It'll be a little medium-term memory loss as well.
Right. So, we did get a little bit of rain in the month of June, but Mark, you created a fancy little graphic a week or so ago showing mid-May to mid-June, which tends to be kind of the transition out of the wet season and into summer-like weather. But you were kind of tracking rainfall and the driest stretches that we've seen between mid-May and mid-June. So, and I think we just ended that stretch that you were describing.
Well, Jeff, that's assuming. Let's not put the cart ahead of the horse, right?
Oh,
old saying. But 9/100 of an inch. If ending, this is from May 16th, so mid-May to mid-June. So today's the 15th, right? Yeah, so it has to make it to midnight. Now, looking at the sky overhead, I'm pretty sure we won't get rain before midnight. But technically, yeah. So 9/100 of an inch in that whole month. And the driest mid-May to mid-June we've ever had, the second driest is, well, this will be the driest. The second driest now is 12/100 of an inch back in 1975. And there are several years in there where we had like a quarter inch or less, like in 1966, 1992, 1940. But this will technically be the driest mid-May to mid-June we've ever seen here in Portland since the weather record started in 1940.
And is that the reason that you chose that? Is that the reason you chose that time period? Because it is kind of like it kind of marks our transition out of the wet season.
No, I chose that because I went back to where I think we had 3/100 of an inch or something. I wanted to go back to where we had the last rain.
Okay. Well,
I think we had, because we went from May 15th, I think, or 16th all the way until last Friday with no rain, and then we had the 900s.
So it was like, 28, that'd be 28 dry days in there, including today?
Total, you mean?
Yes.
Not counting
weeks,
that.
In that
Because one of those days, wasn't that 900? Oh, so Camilla's she's already into the monthly summaries. The F6? I think that's how they code it, but is that what you're looking at? The month, May and June?
Yeah, I mean, I just updated that graphic that you put together yesterday, and so I was counting. Yes, should be 28
because that 900s was actually there was a 0.01 and there was a 0.08 the next day because it started before midnight.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which isn't much
really
of a
dry.
soaker.
Just in the woods outside home and all my flower beds where I put no water in, it's like dry like July right now. So I've been suddenly watering a lot more stuff. I mean, the stuff that I usually would wait 2 weeks after no rain, it's like, I better be watering. I've got to get it through to what's coming up here.
And on that note, I mean, on the last podcast last Thursday, we were talking about some small brush fires that had been breaking out locally west of the Cascades. Past couple days. So again, we're recording this Thursday, June 15th. So Tuesday and Wednesday, we had quite the pressure gradient through the gorge, and that created quite the westerly wind. I mean, from the Dalles out to Pendleton across the Columbia River Basin, we were getting consistent gusts for a 36 to 48 hour period in the 40 to 50 mile per hour range, which is, I mean, you can talk how unusual that is this time of year, Mark. Relatively unusual.
Well, gust in that area, gust 20 to 30 to 35, not pretty common. I mean, there's a reason if you go out to Hood River and then Mosier specifically, like if you look on the freeway between Hood River and the Dalles there, and some of those Douglas firs that are probably like just 20 years old, I mean, they are totally flagged one direction. There's nothing on the west side because the summertime west wind constantly blows. But this was extra strong. Yeah, those gusts around 50. And that's bad for fires, right?
Well, and
so
we had a few fires break out. Right.
Yeah,
I mean, one in particular broke out in the Dalles and unfortunately led to some damage. I know, I mean, there were multiple structures that were burned. And we had a live reporter out there this morning covering the damage. Luckily, it looked like the firefighters put that thing out pretty quickly because there were not any active flames this morning.
That's one thing I noticed about those fires as opposed to those rangeland. I know it's not really rangeland, but where it's just grassland and brush or sagebrush. Those it's like, man, they move fast. You can get 1,000 acres in 20 minutes. But then once the wind calms down at night, or if it just dies down at night, more humidity, I notice they die out quickly. It's pretty rare that those last more than a day or so. Like the Hermiston, was it called the Hat Point fire out there in Hermiston? I had the boss email me yesterday, and he said, hey, should we send somebody out there? And I said, I can't see anything. There's no smoke on satellite, which tells me it's pretty much done. And I think that one way out there, was that 10,000 acres or something like that?
Yeah,
I think. I saw a map, and it showed residence, building. And there were at most 3 residences even within the evacuation area. So that was a pretty remote area.
Yeah, I was also looking for hot spots early this morning before the sun rose and didn't see much. And then when the sun did rise, didn't see much smoke. So much different than like a forest fire, which are difficult to access. And oftentimes in previous history have started from lightning strikes. So, it is still very dry out there. But at the same time, we have an interesting pattern setting up this weekend. And I kind of want to get into that forecast because it's Father's Day weekend. And I know, Camila, I can tell you're in the Weather Center. You've probably been looking at the forecast a little bit. I know both Mark and I have been looking at it for the past few days or so. And so there's next couple of days. So this afternoon, Friday, pretty darn nice. Temperatures in the 70s, dry. Clouds will start to build in, it looks like Friday afternoon and then heading into Saturday. Saturday, guys, could you agree that we'll probably catch some spotty drizzle or something, maybe in the foothills where Mark lives?
Camila, do you know why I'm laughing? Because both of us kind of walked in the door and we haven't really made the forecast yet, Jeff. You know more than us.
You know what, though, Mark? We just got it here at the top of the noggin.
Right.
It's fine.
I think Jeff was I had yesterday off.
Wait, hold on a sec. Mark's acting like he doesn't wake up in the morning in Corbett with his coffee and doesn't open up his computer and look at the models first thing in the morning.
Call him out.
Okay, confession time, folks. I had my coffee and I had to use a laptop for something else. Sometimes it's just the phone if I'm in a hurry. And I did look at the WRF GFS from the UW. I looked at the precip because I want to know if it was going to shower Saturday morning. So yes, I was feigning some ignorance about Saturday. Yeah, okay, maybe some drizzle up against the west slopes of the Cascades.
We haven't looked at the forecast yet.
But now that I think about it, I did look and I did notice that. Yeah, the first real showers arrive around sunrise Sunday, don't they?
Yeah, that's what it's looking like. But,
okay, I retract that statement from earlier. I guess I did know what was going on, but I didn't notice what the cloud cover looked like on Saturday. That I didn't.
You deserve to be called out once in a while.
I'm too cool. Yeah. I don't know what's going on.
Right.
Whatever.
That's right.
If he's not setting up a pool or finding
chopping
new
down
ducks.
trees.
No, Mark apparently made a road trip down to Eugene to pick up some new ducks. Am I correct in that?
What?
statement?
Yeah, Camilla, you haven't heard it. We'll talk about. Well, yeah, we just got these cutest little pair of ducks. Oh my gosh! But I'll just next podcast maybe pictures.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We can worry about the pictures later. We might have to talk about this in a little while. But if Mark is not picking up ducks or setting up his pool, he is likely in that 12-hour period looked at the models again. So there's always going to be at least once to twice in a day that Mark looks at models. So so don't act like you're not familiar with this setup. But Saturday.
You know how it feels, don't you, Jeff? Yep.
Yeah.
You too, Jeff.
Jeff is busy. We know when he wakes up, right, Camilla, in the afternoons?
Oh, yeah, from his nap.
When he starts texting about models at 3 p.m., it's like, oh, Jeff is up from his afternoon nap.
Oh, yeah. Checking the models again.
That's a fact, yeah. Camilla, do you want to be included on those texts?
You know what? I'm good. But
all right.
you guys do your thing,
All right.
Okay.
I just figured I'd ask. Okay. So Saturday could get a little drizzly in some foothill spots. I don't think it's going to be much in our, up and down the I-5 corridor, for instance. The bigger change arrives Sunday. Big upper level low, cool trough of low pressure, dives in from the northwest, right overhead, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So Father's Day, Juneteenth is Monday, and then Tuesday. That seems to be when we're going to get most of the action. And it's going to be interesting for mid-June to see those snow levels lower, which is not completely unusual. I just want to point that out. Are we getting some computer model action here, Mark?
We sure are. For the folks, can you see it now? Can you see my screen?
No, it's loading.
It's still buffering.
It's loading. But folks, for those of you that are just listening, you don't have access to it. Either you're watching it on YouTube or on Fox 12 Now on Friday at 2 p.m. We have the ability to show graphics now on our podcast. We didn't used to. So we're going to have to describe it for the folks that are just listening, which is quite a few
that
people.
Model agreement. Oh my.
That's pretty good. So what we're seeing is this is the European model ensemble, the 24-hour rainfall. In this case, it's rain, not snow. Left side is now. I wish I could draw on this, but I cannot. I don't think. Left side is now. Right side is 2 weeks from now. Each horizontal line in here is one ensemble member. Like Jeff says, it's the trumpet player or it's the tuba player. Okay, so you got this ensemble of models. All right, they each have slightly different initial conditions. And what you're seeing there is, like Jeff said, great agreement that these 24 hours, let's see, so it's, from Sunday through about Tuesday. If it's ending, if it's showing like Wednesday afternoon ending, that means 24 hours before that is probably the last time it rained. So to me, am I correct, guys? It looks like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, that's like the guaranteed showery time, right?
Yeah, and I would say to really narrow it down, Sunday afternoon through Tuesday morning, I would bank on that.
Which you can't see on this one as well.
Okay.
But then the other thing, I do notice this, and look at, there's kind of a gap in there again, mid to late next week into possibly that weekend, the 23rd, 24th, at least on this model. There aren't many members that are wet, but we'll see.
And to clarify, since, our rainfall the last month has been pretty pathetic, to say the least, this is looking like decent showers, right? Our models, what were they saying this morning, Jeff? I was seeing like 1/4 inch to 3/4 of an inch when I was checking yesterday.
I was actually getting more like 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch.
Okay.
I was actually looking at the GFS ensemble as well, which was pumping about 1/2 inch to 1 inch up and down the I-5 corridor. And
nice.
I was assuming that,
That's
those western facing slopes along the Cascades will probably get a little bit more thanks to some orographic lift. This could be a decent little soaking rain for a 3-day period.
Yeah, and that's good. Oh,
no, go ahead, Camila. No,
I was going to say that's good stuff, right? For mid to late June, yeah.
That could get us 1/4 to half of our typical June allotment, which is good. We need a good soaking. It delays fire season. I was going to say, Jeff threw out a big term there, orographic. Now we know a lot of people listening and watching are weather geeks like us, but some are not. Some are, just regular normal people that just, actually look at something else when they're getting their morning coffee. But I was going to say the orographic means related to mountains orography, that means like geography, terrain, right? So it's not orthographic, which would be feet. No, that's orthopedic.
And I'm going to the orthodontist after this podcast. So that's
teeth. Oh, no, the donta is what's ortho mean? Ortho.
Who took Latin here?
Camilla's looking it up. We'll talk amongst ourselves. Camilla's looking it up. So anyway, orographic, when we say orographic, we mean that the air is coming up against the mountains. And so it squeezes more moisture. I always use like the squeezing, like the sponge look thing. So Camilla's got confused.
I don't know. Ortho prefix meaning straight or erect is what I'm finding on the Google machine.
Let's stick with straight.
Does that make sense?
So that means orthogonal to something means like if the westerly flow runs right into the mountains.
Okay.
So that'd be but I don't know. We've gone way onto a tangent here, but either way, orographic flow is when the air runs into the mountains, and it tends to be wettest on the west side of the mountains.
This has been a fun vocabulary lesson.
Next subject.
So lowering snow levels.
Oh, that's right.
So what I find to be maybe the most interesting part about this forecast is the cooler air coming in is going to drop that snow level starting Sunday, lasting through about Tuesday. It'll bounce back and forth. It looks like between about 4,000 to 5,000 feet. Our 850 millibar temperatures, which you hear us refer to a lot, which is the temperature at about 5,000 feet. We measure it in Celsius. It's going to be kind of hovering between about 0 to 3 degrees. And that generally translates to a snow level around 4,000 to 5,000 feet. 4,000 feet probably in the coolest times of the day earlier in the pattern, and then up to 5,000 feet during the afternoons. And the sunshine is super strong. We're right around the summer solstice.
Yeah.
So
sun,
if snow is falling, let's say at just above government camp, at any time during the day, it's going to have a very difficult time sticking, even with cloudy skies. Would you agree, Mark?
It'll be on the trees. Yeah, there's no way during the daytime you get sticking snow. Even at Timberline Lodge, you're not going to get sticking snow during the daytime this time of the year.
So Willamette Pass and Santan Pass are closer to 5,000 feet. Government camp is, just below 4,000 feet. So we're not concerned about sticking snow on the passes,
right.
But I think it's going to be, we're thinking about folks that are going to be in the higher terrain this weekend. Camping
in June, yeah.
Hiking,
sure.
Snowboarding and skiing at Timberline Lodge, perhaps, because they still have some runs open going on up at the Palmer Snowfield. There will be
the bad part about that is they often close during these types of events because there's no visibility up there or it's too stormy.
Oh,
because it's up high, because it's summertime, but then they actually have to close during the snow event because you can't see anything, or it's just too stormy up there.
There's Mark bringing the bad news. Bad news.
Trying to be negative. Debbie Downer.
Debbie Downer.
The next day it'll be great snow, I suppose. Maybe, right? You get fresh snow for the next day. That's good.
Side note with Debbie Downer, I have had some bad comments come in, emails from anybody named Debbie. Be very careful, Mark, using Debbie Downer. Just saying.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Those Debbies out there, including Deb Gill, don't appreciate it, Mark.
Well, at least she's not Karen. Then she'd have lots to complain about.
All right, we're veering off again here. So okay,
speaking of comments, I was just getting the forks today from Goodwill, and a very nice lady there. She said something like, I wish I had the exact quote. She said something like, "The camera just doesn't do you justice."
Oh,
and I said,
wow.
She was probably similar age to me, and I'm trying not to get myself in trouble. So I said something like, "Oh, I look that bad on camera just to be funny." And she's like, no, you look great in person. So it's like, oh, that was nice. A nice lady to say that.
What a sweet comment.
That's
I had a T-shirt on and no makeup and, looking a little rough on the edges. She said she'd see me tonight on TV.
You see why our podcast is fun compared to, say, our normal weather hits that last about 3 minutes in studio? We go from snow levels to these kind of comments from viewers, just like that.
To Goodwill interactions.
We love it. Yeah.
I've got, we're going to talk about it coming up, I think, but we're going to a weather conference next week. And one of our favorite viewers said, "What were you thinking going to a weather conference in Phoenix in June?"
Not our choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
well, I guess it was our choice. We want to be at the weather conference, but we didn't choose the city.
Right.
Okay, back to the snow levels. Okay. So it is going to turn much cooler. And I think if you have any reason to head up into the higher terrain of the Cascades, or I would even say the Blue and Wallowa Mountains, there could be some action out there too. I would be prepared for quite the change. What's funny is yesterday I really started talking about this on Good Day Oregon, and my Facebook memories brought me back to June 14th, 2020, and that picture of Timberline Lodge with snow. It is not that unusual to have snow this time of year. Under the right circumstances, it can very much happen in the Cascades and the higher terrain.
Jeff, I was just going to point out, believe it or not, I guess I forgot about all the things I did do over morning coffee, because I remember I looked at the government camp snow for June. But I did a bunch of things since then, so then things got pushed out. The government camp snow stuff got pushed out.
So
I had to worry about other things.
Mark did the entire forecast over his morning coffee, but then tried to pretend like he didn't even look at a single box.
Well, I think more an issue of I'd forgotten that I did that, took a bike ride, and did a bunch of other things. Okay, but I did look up. That's right. Let me see. It was 2008, in 2010, 2011, 2012. There was measurable snow in the month of June at government camp, but none of those were more than 3 inches. Several of them were like 0.2 or 0.1. And I remember I think it was June 10th of 2010 or June 12th of 2012, something like that. It actually fell and stuck during the daytime over a Dead Man's Pass between Pendleton and La Grande I-84, briefly covered. It was really a cold June that year, 2010.
Dead Man Pass is quite the pass, during the winter time. So, and it's a little higher up as well. I believe it's closer to
4,000. About 4.
I was thinking 5,000, but we'd have to double check that.
Yeah.
In any
Next winter.
case, things are going to be changing this weekend, and
Right.
lost my train of thought, but we'll keep going with the forecast, and maybe
what
I'll
about
think about it.
thunderstorms? Could we see thunderstorms Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday? But Sunday or Monday, especially in this pattern, upper level low in June.
It was looking like
the
Monday.
Cape wasn't that high Sunday, but even I don't know. Yeah, Monday looks best when the low is right overhead, right?
Right.
When you see the closed low, I did see that too. I saw that as well. But yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, in May or June, when's the last time we had one of those overhead? Unless we get solid, what we call stratiform rain, where it's just there's something just sitting overhead all day. But if we get sun breaks in May or June, that cold of an air mass, we're going to have hail or thunder or both. So just be aware. There could be some downpours. So maybe some spots get 1.25 inches of rain in those 3 days. Other spots only get a third of an inch. We'll see.
It will destabilize there pretty quickly with any sun breaks.
Busy weather days for sure, Sunday and Monday.
And then beyond Tuesday, it does look like things are going to kind of even out again. Back to the 70s, drier weather. Mark showed that gap in the ensembles if you're watching our podcast. Right. So there's high confidence that mid to late week will dry out, and then things might get a little iffy heading into maybe next weekend. We might have another – there's the possibility – I've seen a few model runs showing the possibility of another week low coming in from the west and maybe kicking up some action from the southwest. Which would be a thunderstorm, could be a thunderstorm situation again, right?
Is it fair to say, yeah, I agree. Is it fair to say in the next 10 days we don't see a heat wave?
That's very fair to say, yeah.
I mean, it might get warm later next week, maybe, depending on which model you look at, but I don't see a heat wave set up in the next week and a half, which is today's the 15th, so I had 10 days, so through the 25th.
I think that's a huge win because I think back to 2021, right after the summer solstice, we had our most extreme heat on record. That must be the studio. Yeah, that must be in the studio. Tell those directors to tune it down a little bit.
They keep testing sounds, and I'm like, oh, should I go turn the little thing down?
Yeah. Why don't you go? Yeah, there's little volumes. Yeah. Do your thing.
Come back, Camila. Be safe.
Yeah. We'll keep going. I know Camila knows where we're going.
We have a control, folks, in the studio to turn off the volume, like when we want to record something.
You really
don't
get
worry,
the behind
Camila's going to be back.
Here.
There she goes. I saw her running in the mirror there. There we go.
Yeah,
she's back.
You know what? She's a marathon runner. She did that pretty quickly. That was nice. All right.
It was a
sprint.
Yeah, that was good.
All right.
So what's important about this, in my opinion, is around the summer solstice, we have the strongest heating going on, longest daytime or longest day in terms of daylight hours around the summer solstice. So if we have the right situation play out where a big heat dome sets up like in 2021, we can get extreme heat. So for us to say that there isn't a heat wave coming this time of year is good. It's actually a very good thing. If we can get a few weeks beyond the summer solstice and then perhaps a heat wave or something related sets up, it shouldn't be as extreme as it would be right around June 21st.
Yeah.
So
I agree. Yeah, good stuff. This is more typical. This second half of June looks so much more normal. Some showers, some warm sunshine, some days in the 60s, some in the 70s, maybe a few in the 80s. That's about as typical as it should be in June.
And speaking of that, we're in the midst of earliest sunrises and some of the latest sunsets. That will start to change again June 22nd. That's when we start to kind of creep back a little bit toward the shorter days, but shorter days in terms of daylight hours. Pet peeve of mine, learned this from a previous news director, don't call them shorter days. There's always 24 hours in a day, right?
That's right. Did you guys talk about that last week?
Maybe.
I found myself I was catching myself this last week or so, trying not to say that. And then I said, blah, 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 and then I said the wrong thing on air.
But I noticed it's interesting. Our sunsets don't start getting earlier and earlier until after July 1st.
Yeah, there's a little delay.
Which trips some people up because it makes sense, right? Summer solstice, you figured it'd be right after that, but it lingers a little bit.
Yeah, and it depends on which part of the hemisphere, too. I saw a great graphic. There's that guy, Brett. Do you follow him? Brett Barsh?
Yeah, the climatologist up in Alaska. Yeah.
Oh, is that what he is? Okay, and he has great graphics, and it showed what date, like the latest sunset, or the earliest sunset, the latest sunset of the year is, and it's different as you go north and south. Don't ask me exactly why. It's either related to, is it the light, the refraction of the sun, as it's going through the, I don't know. There's a reason for that, and we should know, but I had to look it up.
All right.
Tomorrow morning's coffee.
I don't know the answer to that one, so.
Let's
On
move
that
on.
note, yeah, we'll move on. So a couple other notes, and this is kind of shifting over to national weather or international weather, if you will. We still have big wildfires burning in Canada, and this is bringing a lot of smoke into the central and eastern United States. I was checking out the visible satellite imagery and some of the air quality products or even smoke products this morning, and I saw air quality alerts in Minnesota and Wisconsin. Did you have that on your bingo card for this year, that the upper Midwest would have the worst air quality in mid-June?
Did not, Camila.
Yeah.
No, but Johnny, so my husband, he's actually running a marathon in Duluth this weekend. So he's watching that smoke forecast closely. But it looks like it should clear out a little bit more. Plus, they get that flow off the lake, so that should help because Duluth is kind of right there, right alongside the lake. So it should
you're not going. Oh, he's going by himself, right? You're not going.
Yeah,
I was
he's already there.
Because I don't plan to work this weekend, and I assumed you're going to be here because one of us needs to be here. Glad we cleared that up. Okay, good. Well,
and I think broadly speaking or generally speaking, there's going to be an ebb and flow to this smoke because until actually, I think this upper level low coming in, that's going to bring us the rain and lower snow levels. That will probably put some good water on those fires up in Western Canada.
It looks pretty wet up there. Yeah.
Yeah, which would be very helpful for some of the smoke, which a lot of that smoke is pouring in from Western Canada. But what I was going to say was until you see basically wintertime, a lot of these fires up in central and eastern Canada will not go away, or at least the smoke won't go away. So there's going to be an ebb and flow to the smoke. So let's just say you live in the Northwest and you plan to travel up to the Great Lakes region or New England or New York during the summertime, mid to late summer. That's something that you're going to have to keep in mind is you may have some smoky days up there and you may have to adjust your plans, your outdoor plans, and kind of think back to when we had our serious smoke back in 2020 and previous wildfire seasons. It's kind of a weird year, a weird summer.
Hopefully that rain. Yeah, hopefully that rain. I was just looking at the Euro. Hopefully that rain with that upper level low one will cool them off. Things green up more as you get into, deeper into June and July up there. And also just a bunch of rain would be helpful. Cool them off.
Yeah.
All right. And kind of shifting focus over to the tropics. We are in hurricane season. Remember, May 15th was the start of hurricane season in the Eastern Pacific Ocean. So our side of the Pacific down in the tropics. And hurricane season began June 1st in the Atlantic basin. It's kind of been a quiet start to the hurricane season, although I have seen some serious heat across have you seen some of these sea surface temperature maps for the Atlantic Ocean? Unusually warm sea surface temperatures, like a bit alarming. Just considering that some of the temperatures are already in the 90s, low 90s, and you really only need sea surface temperatures to be at about 78 or greater for a hurricane to strengthen. You need other you need other atmospheric conditions to come into play to be favorable for that, like weak upper level wind, for instance. But yeah, the water is really warm from the Gulf of Mexico eastward, and even the Northeast Atlantic is very warm for this time of year. But it's been a quiet start to hurricane season. We're now halfway through the month of June, and I wanted to bring up that there is a tropical wave that's forming off the coast of Africa. Very low chance of development, 20% chance over the next week. It is projected to work its way westward across the Atlantic. So, it could be a week from now that it really starts to take shape. But yeah, it's just something that we keep an eye on because, well, we get to cover it because our weather kind of calms down during the summertime. But it could affect gas prices if a hurricane forms, let's say off the Texas coastline or something. We've seen that happen. And so something to keep an eye on. And we've talked about, Mark, El Nino can and may play a role in slowing things down in the Atlantic this year.
That's right. Although it tends to be busier, Hawaii has a better chance in El Nino years for tropical cyclones of any sort, whether it's depressions or tropical storms or hurricanes, more rare. But my sister lives there, and they know, El Nino years, better chance for hurricanes there. And I think the Eastern Pacific up against Mexico, they have a higher chance when the Atlantic has a lower chance usually.
Yeah, and
so we'll see how it goes.
Right. A lot of it has to do with those upper level winds. You just want weak upper level wind for a hurricane to form. And
Yeah.
El Nino tends to favor more of those upper level winds pushing into the Atlantic. So we're hoping it's a quiet season for all the folks that live along the Gulf Coast and the Eastern Seaboard, and certainly anybody that has family and friends out there. So we are definitely going to be tracking this weather system coming in closely because it's been a relatively quiet last couple of weeks here in the Pacific Northwest. It'll be nice to get some rain. It'll lower the fire danger a little bit. And guys, do you have any plans for Father's Day? Mark, any plans?
Well, looking at the forecast, I've got a relative in town, but we'll see. I'm thinking it's something indoors, possibly. But no, do you? Anybody else have big plans for Father's Day?
Actually, yeah, I do. My brother is throwing an engagement party this weekend, and a big one at that. In fact, hopefully my parents aren't watching. I think this might be a surprise wedding, which is a trend these days. So the plan is to go down to Northern California. I know, neither have I.
So tell us, yeah.
So they're having a 100+ person engagement party this weekend. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Yeah, so our hunch is there may be a surprise coming. Again, I don't think any of my immediate family will end up seeing this. Hopefully not.
Wait. Like you think so? It's being advertised as an engagement party, but you think a wedding might happen?
Yeah, I was talking to Joe V this morning before Good Day Oregon. He was like, "Yep, my brother-in-law threw a surprise wedding. We thought it was an engagement party, and we showed up, and they were like, we're having a wedding right now." Yeah, so
although that's a way to get the stress out. It's like just do it.
Right,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So we're heading down to Northern California. I haven't seen my dad in like a year, so I'm actually going to be with my dad on Father's Day, which is really cool.
That'll be fun.
And then, Mark, we're flying out early next week for the American Meteorological Society's Broadcast Meteorologist Conference.
Party time, folks. Imagine.
In Phoenix, Arizona, where the forecast is about 105 to 110 degrees while we'll be there. Have you seen that one, Mark?
Oh, I sure have, but we'll be inside anyway. And it's a dry heat. I was thinking that, folks, just imagine like 120 people just like us sitting there chatting about their different weather patterns and how they're all complaining how hard it is to forecast snow in their town. And then they talk about we don't because we have a good boss. But they'll talk about, I've heard some real nightmare stories. Actually, I've never had to share a nightmare story, which is great. But yeah, you hear all the nightmare stories of different places and find out like, wow, this is a pretty good place to work. So.
Yeah. I learned a ton at the last broadcast conference last summer in Milwaukee. And so a programming note, Mark and I will be recording our next podcast next week from Phoenix, Arizona. It won't be in a fancy spot. We're going to be in our hotel rooms, folks, I think.
Yeah, we think so. We have to be in a separate rooms, unless they give us a spot to do it. I'll ask and see, but
well, one of you be locked in the bathtub or something.
I mean, one of us could be like in the exhibit hall in the corner, but somebody may just stumble by and go, "Hey, dude, did you get a drink?"
Mark already records from a coat closet in KPTV studios, so might as well just throw him in another closet, right?
It's a recording booth. Yes, there's some blue umbrellas in the background, but it's a recording booth, folks.
He's our makeshift Harry Potter.
We're about out of time. You know what? I got a 4 o'clock show here, Jeff. We got to wrap this up.
Oh. And I have that orthodontist appointment I need to go to. So, folks, thanks for joining us for another episode of the Fox 12 Weather Podcast. And we'll be complaining next week about how hot it is in Phoenix while it's so nice in the Pacific Northwest. So, thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
Bye.
And tell us, please tell us.